Hey, I'm Chris, owner of Red's Dryer Vent Cleaning, and in this video I'm going to show you how I clean a dryer vent through the attic. I start out by just connecting some spare sleeve that I keep in my bag, and then connecting that to a blower that I'm going to use later in the video. I prefer this soft-sided accordion-style sleeve to the semi-rigid kind because this collapses down pretty easy. It's flexible, it doesn't crush or puncture as easy as that semi-rigid full aluminum stuff. So this is just what I prefer. I buy this in bulk at Home Depot and use it across multiple jobs. This blower is a high-power electric corded blower that I take with me to jobs. It cost me like $120 on Amazon, and it's held up for over 800 vents for me at this point. This was a long vent run to a steep roof, and so for my own safety and also to remove the blockage that was in the horizontal section, I chose to disassemble the vent in the attic and clean the blockage out this way. You can see the long horizontal run a little bit here. Whenever you're trying to locate your dryer vent in your attic, you're going to look for something like this. It's going to be a rigid pipe. It should be, if it's built to code, a rigid pipe that comes up through the ceiling and into the attic and then bends out somewhere to an exterior vent cap. I did my initial inspection before putting the camera on for this video, so I don't actually have a picture of the vent cap for this video, but in some of my other videos, I show what kind of vent cap you'd be looking for on the roof. There's a couple different kinds, but generally the type of vent cap you'd be looking for is going to be a hood style that has a front opening. The vent at this house had a screen installed on it, so not only was this a very long vent run, but it also had that screen at the very end of it that was creating an obstruction, and so it ended up causing a major buildup of lint all down the horizontal section of this dryer vent. And even before I arrived at this job, the customer had already cleaned the vertical section as best as he could, but he just didn't have the tools and wasn't really confident that he could finish up. So that's where, when you see that I opened this up, there wasn't much lint in the bottom section. That's because the customer had already cleaned that part out, but still needed me to come out and do the full cleaning on the rest of the vent. If you're trying to do a job like this yourself and you're comfortable working in attics, something that I would recommend is a chest bag like the one that I'm wearing in this video. This is a simple like $20 chest bag that I got off of Amazon, like a tactical style. It's got MOLLE webbing on the front that I can clip carabiners to. So you'll see I use those throughout this video. I clip my knife to the front of my chest. Sometimes I clip my phone there. I keep lanyards there so that I can hook tools to it when I'm either working in an attic or on a steep roof, so that if I drop something, it won't fall into the insulation or down and slide down off the roof. And of course, whenever you're moving through an attic, you want to make sure you step carefully on all of the beams. You want to test your weight first. Don't step on anything that can't hold you, and definitely don't step on the ceiling because you can totally fall through that and cause damage. So here you can see the dryer vent is held up by essentially this pipe strap that is connected to a loose board tied into the support beams. So I took my knife that has a little pry bar at the bottom and I pried out this nail just a little bit, just enough to loosen up the pipe strap so that I can move the duct, but not enough to remove the pipe strap entirely, so it still has the support. I apologize for the camera angle in here. I didn't realize that the camera was pointing so low, so it does make things a little tougher to see. Also, the way that my light is set up, it's tough wearing a headlamp and a GoPro on my forehead, so it does make stuff a little tough to see. But hopefully you can still kind of see most of what's going on here. So I've loosened up that nail, and now I'm going to cut the tape on this upper part and remove this section of vent so that I can inspect inside and clean out any obstructions that I find. You can see here the flexible vent that's kind of on the left side here. That's an example of typically like a bathroom exhaust fan. Sometimes a laundry room might have an exhaust fan in it as well. For those, you will often find that they use this flexible semi-rigid pipe. But they don't use it for anything that must vent for safety reasons, because otherwise they can kink or bend or crush and it could start a fire. And so I've opened this up and found a bunch of debris in this section right after the bend. This vent is built in a pretty frustrating way for the homeowner. It's a very long vent run, and it's got 2 elbows in it. Each elbow adds a point of great resistance. And also up top here, I found water damage around the vent outlet, and that actually probably came from inside the vent. So all this, it's a little hard to see here, but all this lint that I'm pulling out is soaking wet. It's likely not from rain coming down through the vent. It's likely the moisture coming out of the dryer that then soaks into that lint and then just stays in that pipe. The customer informed me before I came out that when he had removed his dryer and taken the sleeve off behind the dryer, that sleeve was full of about half a gallon of water. I see this from time to time with really bad blockages. The moisture will leave the dryer and some of it will condense back down into water and flow down into the pipe. Like I said before, this vent had a screen at the very end, and so I was able to actually reach up through this vent pipe and pull the screen out from inside so that I could make sure that there's good airflow coming out and that lint and debris can escape in the future. Alright, so this brush that I use, it's 20 feet long. I also have a 35-foot long brush, but since I disassembled this vent and I'm working in the attic, I try not to have excess brush length because I just don't want it to get caught on anything. But this brush is made by a company called Air Care. I'll try to remember to link this in the comments. It's the only manufacturer that makes a brush like this. It's all one piece instead of the snap together rods, and it doesn't have any threaded parts. So some brands of dryer vent brushes will have like a threaded head, or they'll have threaded sections that screw into one another. And what can happen is when you run those types of brushes up a vent and then get stuck, you might try to spin the brush the other way, and then it can actually unscrew and disconnect inside the vent. And so this specific brush avoids any threaded parts, and so it stays intact, and the cable is all one unified piece, so it can't detach. So I've only found one manufacturer that makes a brush like this. They take 4 weeks to make the brush, and they only sell to people that have registered businesses. But if you meet those qualifications, I'll share the link. You can maybe go get one of these for yourself. The 20-foot brush is about $400, and the 35-foot brush is about $500. You can see I'm running this brush connected to my drill. I always run it on very low torque because there are risks with this style brush as well. If it gets stuck and you're running on high torque, you could actually you could break the cable inside the brush by twisting it. And I have done that before and had to replace my brush, and so I always run on low torque. I generally keep my torque setting to just 1 or 2, always less than 4. And I use the medium tier Ryobi drill to run this. And you can see quite a bit is coming out. It's wet and compact, but this has been thick buildup across the entire length of this vent, so probably 12 feet. Just packed with wet lint. The unfortunate thing about vent builds like this is that the 90-degree elbow at the top of the vertical run adds a lot of resistance to the airflow. So it reduces the strength of the airflow that's coming out of the dryer, and the air coming out of the dryer doesn't blow all that strong anyway. So then it encounters resistance at an elbow, and every elbow compounds that resistance. And so we're working with 2 elbows here. So that makes it hard for the air and the moisture to escape just in general, not even counting the lint, the wet, heavy lint that it has to push up. And so when you have a 90-degree elbow like this that runs into a horizontal run, what happens is that then instead of all the air coming up from under the lint, it comes from sideways across the lint, and what'll happen is that wet lint will just stop blowing forward and stop carrying out, and so the air and the moisture will escape the vent, but the lint will not. It'll start to just pile up in the horizontal section of the vent. And so this happens in vents like this, and also vents that are in 2-story houses that go up and then bend out and run like 10 to 15 feet out horizontally to an exterior wall vent. It's pretty common in both. So anytime you have a vent that has a 90-degree elbow going into a long horizontal run, my recommendation is generally to clean it every 6 to 12 months. Like my vent at home is 33 feet long and has 3 elbows, and then comes out an exterior wall about 11 or 12 feet high, and I have to clean mine about every 6 months. So a vent like this, I generally recommend going no longer than 12 months between cleanings. And as you saw, I ran my brush multiple times until I could confirm that no more debris was falling out, and then I descended out of the attic to go back into the laundry room, where I'm going to turn on my blower and test the airflow coming out of all the sections, and then I'll start reconnecting. If you're looking to start a business like this, it's handy to have, like, I use a 15-foot extension cord with this blower, and so that allows me to find an outlet sometimes in another room if there's no outlet available in the laundry room where I'm working. And then you can see here I just grabbed a roll of aluminum tape. This is specially rated for HVAC and heat use, and rated for dryers to handle the heat, so you want to make sure you get the correct type of aluminum tape. Generally, if you're buying this stuff at the hardware store, the correct tape will be near the dryer vent supplies on the hardware aisle. But you can see here I'm just reassembling the vent. I was able to confirm that there's air flowing without any obstruction out of the lower section, so then I reconnected it there. I'm going to tape it up later, but first I just want to confirm that air is blowing all the way through the top section. So I walked over to check that out. And I was able to confirm that there is air coming out, but I just want to also do a little visual inspection. So what I do is I use my camera, and I'll turn on the flash, and I'll turn on video, and then I'll actually use video to inspect down the length of the pipe and make sure that there's no obstruction. And this one looks good. So then I carefully reassemble this vent here, connecting the lower section into the top section. The way they make these elbows, you can twist them into a variety of angles to suit whatever your needs are. I always wear gloves when I'm doing this because the metal is very, very sharp. I have cut myself really badly several times on the ductwork when I'm either assembling it or disassembling it. I even cut my hands on the tape sometimes because the sharp edge of the aluminum tape can cut you pretty deep too. So just be careful when you're doing this stuff. Wear good gloves. This roll of tape is a little expensive. It's $30 per roll, but it's worth it. I can tear it with one hand. I don't have to use a knife or scissors or anything, and it's sturdy. It has solid adhesive for what it's being applied to. It doesn't hold very well to things that are like really, really dirty. So if this vent was like super covered in dirt or dust or mud or something, I'd have to clean it off first. But generally in an attic, you're not going to be dealing with that, and you can put this tape on no problem. I like to clean up all the lint that I can when I'm working in these attics. I will say technically you wouldn't have to. The lint on its own is not going to pose any sort of hazard or anything. It's just going to sit in the insulation. I just think it's a good practice to clean up after yourself. But if you're a homeowner and you're doing this yourself and you don't care, that's up to you. So you can see here, just a couple pieces of tape are enough to seal up the joint, make sure it's nice and firm, connected, everything's working good. Little pro tip with the tape, I like to tear a little piece off and tape the end down so that it doesn't unroll while I'm walking around. That keeps the tape in good shape so that it doesn't unroll and get crushed and bent up when it's sitting in my tool bag. Unfortunately, the camera angle was too low and I didn't realize it, so what I did there was I was inspecting the top vent. I was listening for the airflow coming from my blower, and I was looking to see if I could see little flecks of debris blowing out, and I could. I was able to confirm that. So I was able to confirm that air is flowing all the way through the pipe, out of the upper flap, and then out of the roof cap. So then I come in here, and I've got a higher setting I can put the blower on. But first I'm going to stow some of my stuff and then put in some earplugs because this thing gets pretty loud. You can hear that airflow coming out of that cap that's up there. Unfortunately, like I said, you can't see it because camera angle's too low, but in another video I'll show you the style of cap he had. He had that one of the hood style caps that casts the air forward. That's the type of cap that you generally are going to want. But yeah, once I confirm that air is flowing with the blower, I go up and I finish my final cleanup. When I'm vacuuming up an attic, I try not to take up too much insulation, but sometimes you can't avoid it. So I did end up taking up some insulation here. Kind of just is what it is. I just try not to be reckless with it. Yeah, if you're ever working in an attic, just like keep an eye out for hazards. There's often nails sticking out of the beams or sticking down from the roof above, so it's very easy to like hit your arm or your shoulder or your head. I'm bald, so I wear a hat to protect my head from getting scratched or cut or punctured by nails that are sticking through the roof and stuff like that. I also watch out for cables and gas lines, and you can see in here there's a couple rat traps in this attic. The one to the right of the vent looks like it's already been sprung, probably by somebody who was doing work in here, didn't want to get caught in it. If you've ever caught your finger in one of those traps, it is not fun. But I hope that this was helpful, informative, whether you're a homeowner trying to figure out how to do this stuff for yourself, or you're thinking about starting a dryer vent business for yourself. There's a lot of useful information here. I'm going to do more videos like this. If you have any scenarios that you want to learn about specifically, I will try to just drop a comment or something, let me know, and I'll try to do a film of a situation like that when I encounter it. If you have any other like specific questions or anything like that, I'm happy to answer them in some future videos. So just let me know. And if you are in the Austin area, give me a call. I am Red's Dryer Vent Cleaning. You can Google it. I'll come up in the search results. I've got over 100 5-star reviews. I list all my prices up front on my website so you know exactly what you're getting into. I run this business myself, so I'm not going to be sending out any like novices or subcontractors or anything like that. If you call me, then I am the person who's going to come out and do the job for you. And thanks for watching. See you next time.